Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, and my friends, today we're talking Ingrid. So Ingrid is one of the 4 characters that was recently announced for Street Fighter 6 Season 3 as a DLC character. And there was certainly a lot of buzz, right? A lot of people, like, oh my god, I'm so happy. A lot of people like, why do all these fighting game old timers not like her? But actually the most overwhelming thing I saw was sort of a who? What? Like either people didn't understand who Ingrid was at all or only had the vaguest understanding of the characters, like, oh, it's some character from over 20 years ago, which to be fair is 100% true. She is some character from over 20 years ago. So in this video, I want to go over what exactly Ingrid is and just kind of her story and her relevance, if any, to Street Fighter, because she is not a canonical character to the Street Fighter universe. She will be now that she's in the game, and she's had appearances before, but none of them kind of matter yet. Her true roots will be laid in this game. And everything I'm about to show you can be a bit of a history lesson, I guess, but nothing is set in stone, nothing they have to hold to. She might as well be an all-new character because, well, she might be an all-new character other than the name. Like, the new official art's even sort of a dead giveaway in that aspect. Stuff is going to change. I'm not just talking about her outfit, her appearance, just little details like the energy around her. They're going out of their way to associate her with like that pinky purple that you would normally in Street Fighter definitely associate with Psycho Power. And is she normally associated with Psycho Power? Well, no, yes, well, we'll get into it. She normally has golden powers though, not that pinky purple stuff. So something seemingly is destined to change here. And heck, even more stuff in the trailer. Like we had the Sagat stage. That giant Sagat statue you've seen in a million different Street Fighter incarnations. That also plays into it a little bit. But hey, let's get into it. So now, before we even get to the proper debut of the character and like kind of where this all begins, we got to talk about a game called Capcom Fighting All-Stars. This is where Ingrid was supposed to make her debut. Didn't happen though. Capcom Fighting All-Stars, for lack of a more elegant term, was basically Capcom versus Capcom. We had characters from all over. We had obviously Street Fighter reps, like you can see Alex on the screen. We had rival schools, there's Akira. We even had people like Strider was in the game, right? Hager and Poison from Final Fight were in the games. All sorts of franchises all in one place, including a few all-new characters, which we're debuting here in this game. And obviously didn't pan out. This game got canceled before it was released, which was a shame. I remember this getting announced and I was so excited because I was really looking forward to playing Hager and Poison. I love Final Fight. I loved it when the Final Fight characters showed up in Street Fighter Alpha, like Cody and Guy, right? So I was all for it. And it was like, oh, it was 3D, which I know means nothing now, but newer at the time, especially for Capcom. But yeah, this game got canceled. There was some work done, but kind of relegated to the dustbin of history. And all those other original characters for the game also sort of went away, but the idea of Ingrid stuck around. And that's sort of the thing. Ingrid kind of keeps showing up until now, finally here in 2025. She's going to be a playable character in Street Fighter 6. Well, in 2026, I guess, not 2025, but you get the idea. So that preamble said now, enter Capcom Fighting Evolution, also sometimes known as Capcom Fighting Jam. And to answer the question I get from a lot of people, like, why do a lot of the old timers in the fighting game community dislike Ingrid? It's because of this game. Because it's a double pack whammy here. So Ingrid was presented as the face of this game. She is the only original character for the game. Everyone else is from somewhere else. And of the time too, for Capcom reusing a lot of assets, this is the dirtiest asset flip they ever did. Almost nothing is new for this game except for Ingrid and her sprite. So you take that and it is definitively Capcom's worst ever fighting game. Straight up, like actually. Combination of both bad and lazy and unfun. It's a real winner, right? So yeah, no one liked this game at all. And then also, this was Capcom's last fighting game until Street Fighter 4 came back and kind of revitalized the fighting game genre. So this left a very, very, very bad taste in many people's mouths. And then, well, look at the character select screen. Ingrid's there front and center. She's the main character. It's her game, right? So it's kind of hard to disassociate the badness, the garbage of Capcom Fighting Evolution with Ingrid, because they're kind of inexorably linked together, especially for people who are playing at the time. So that alone creates an awful association with any of the old-timer players. And of course, there's other reasons, like she's got the whole magical girl thing going on. Not everyone's a fan of that. Also, generally how she's presented, because especially now in the Street Fighter context, why she's definitely gonna get reworked. She's multi-thousand-year-old space goddess, like, or at least godlike. It's kind of reeks of like, oh, this is my original character sort of vibe. But yeah, then we take Capcom's literal worst fighting game of all time, and she's the face of it. There's bad blood created out of the gate. So what kind of character is Ingrid, now that we got kind of the origin story out of the way, right? So once again, she's meant to be either a god outright, or at least a god-like individual, demigod maybe. She's shown in her Capcom Fighting Evolution ending. She goes against Pyron and destroys him. And if you don't know your Darkstalkers, Pyron is effectively Capcom's equivalent of Galactus. So he's kind of strong, right? And Ingrid can chump him out. Like in some of the comics, Pyron is the reason the dinosaurs died 65 million years ago, right? So he's a planetary level being. And then the Ingrid is nothing, because Ingrid has her crest. She's the messenger of the stars. She's heavily linked to like a star/sun theme, right? And she has her crest, which has also come up in her only other appearance. So she was a playable character in the PSP version of Street Fighter Alpha 3. So like even back in the day, I had the Game Boy Advance version. That one had T-Hawk, and I was super happy about that. But she wasn't even that, only in the PSP version. So if you play like Street Fighter Alpha 3 in that recent Capcom collection, she's not even in it, because she's in a version after that one. And basically, there's not much to be said story-wise, lore-wise. She's here, she lost something, she's awful mysterious. Let's go around the world and have some fights. The only real thing you're going to gather is she's no fan of things like the Satsui no Hado or Psycho Power. And other than that, she's very carefree, like, haha, tee-hee, oh, that tickles, like, very silly, and, like, this is all below her. Eventually, she'll meet up with Rose looking for Bison. Bison, is a threat to her, at least to a degree. Rose can't see her future because she's, like, a godlike being and has something to do with the timeline, and has timeline powers / manipulation, which we'll see in her ending as well. They set it up that effectively the whole reason Bison has like the Psycho Drive in Street Fighter Alpha 3 is because of her power. Now for the one guy in the comments already, I got you, don't worry. No, her power isn't Psycho Power. She has her own distinct energy. Her energy is either powered by or comes from the crests. Her power is much more celestial based, like star/sun energy. Bison, being a nasty man, took the crest, I guess, so that turns out to be the true secret of why the Psycho Drive was so powerful in Street Fighter Alpha 3. As to how or why he got a hold of it, don't worry, it's never explained. But, gotta have a fight, gotta beat each other up, so we go through the boss fight. Spoiler, Ingrid wins, because you're playing as her, right? And once again, I want to say, none of this is canonical, none of this actually happens in the Street Fighter timeline. Until she shows up in Street Fighter 6, she has always existed outside of the Street Fighter timeline. In fact, by Street Fighter director Takayuki Nakayama's own words, if she was ever to be added to Street Fighter 6, she would not be a part of the game officially. She would be a guest character. She'd be a collaboration character with Capcom Fighting Evolution. Now, granted, that was written in 2023. Plans have obviously changed, because she's here now, right? But in his own words, she'd be a guest character if she ever showed up in Street Fighter 6. Anyways, so yeah. They have the big battle, Bison like a dummy if you've never played Street Fighter Alpha 3. Things never go well for him in these endings, right? Something always happens. Then there is that crest, Ingrid's crest. When it's powering the Psycho Drive, something happens, blows up in Bison's face, literally kind of tears him in half, and he done explodes. And this is where the giant statue from Sagat stage comes back into play. So in Street Fighter Alpha 3, it was actually a Shadaloo base and like a giant death robot, if you did not know. And what's a bit different about Ingrid's ending is she takes it and then she friggin' flies off with it into space. And so, yeah, that's a little bit different. Normally, like, it shoots laser, like, that's not normally how that goes, right? So, yeah, she flies off with it into space here, just as you can see. And then she uses her power of, like, manipulating the timeline to say this. The next event she has is in the year 201X, and she'll be up against, and that'll be the monk she just passed by. It's Ryu she's talking about, right? So, turns out, off by a few years. It wasn't 201X, it was 202X, and she'll make her next appearance. And that's sort of where we leave it at, like Space statue, go! Now circling back once again. So Ingrid's coming back when the statue's coming back to Street Fighter 6. So honestly, I'll feel a little robbed if they don't do something there, just because there is a link. Like, what little appearances she does have, she is linked to the statue. Now, besides that, there is another small link in the official Street Fighter Cross Tekken prequel comic that Ingrid is responsible for Pandora. And well, we made a video on it on the channel a couple weeks ago now. Pandora is one of the worst mechanics in fighting game history, so I guess you can blame Ingrid for that. Once again, until Street Fighter 6 happens, nothing she's ever done is canonical, but just another aspect of her being like a godlike being. She can create Pandora, she can kill Pyron. She's not exactly on the same level as like punch kick hobo like say Ryu is. When it comes to the general Street Fighter roster, she is many orders of magnitude stronger, right? And once again, now that she is going to be a canonical character, all that is probably going to change. Almost everything I just talked about, legitimately, there's a very good chance they're just going to sweep all that under the rug. Like, they'll keep some aesthetic stuff. I'm sure a more classical look will be her outfit too. They might keep a move or two, but I expect her to have a mostly different move set. You know, for the 2 games she's ever been in, it's not like she has any kind of memorable moveset anyways. You can easily dumpster all that and do something a bit more modern. We don't know till we know, but at this point, what I'm sort of anticipating is it's a nice reference, and she'll be back in spirit, but she'll be effectively, gameplay-wise, lore-wise, almost an all-new character. Because, gameplay-wise, lore-wise, there isn't much to her as it stands. Coming back around to this now from the top of the video, right? When we're doing the color coding of the characters, they're giving her that pinky purple psycho power color coding. Even though, once again, in the few appearances she's had, her power is not psycho power explicitly, they might wrap it back around to tie it into it some way, somehow. Because her power coding in the original games is more of a golden deal. It's not the psycho power purple. That said, though, that's basically the history lesson. So if you didn't know much about Ingrid, this is basically everything to know. She's a weird character, showed up in a game everybody hated, and by association, a lot of people just hate her directly or indirectly for either being in the game or a few other reasons. I myself do not like Ingrid in the shape that she's been in. However, new game, she has an all-new look. I like the redesign. I actually dig it. I like the whole cleric-y kind of medieval look that she has going on. And this is a fresh start. They can reinvent her. I don't like the character as it stands. However, the character as it stands is not the character it's going to be. So you know what? Wow me. Let's see what we got. To be frank, it's not going to be difficult to make her more interesting, both character-wise and gameplay-wise than she already is, because character-wise and gameplay-wise, she's barely anything as it stands. It's all uphill from here, right? So let's reinvent the character. Let's make some new fans out of old enemies. And I guess in time, we'll see where that takes us. But till then, my friends, that is the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.